Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends, and thanks for tuning in today. I am so excited to announce that today is our 50th episode. So that just flew right by. We've already been hosting this podcast now for a year, and I hope that it's been bringing you value. And I am really excited about today's episode because I decided that I would go back in time over the last 49 episodes and pick some of the highlights that I know have had a major impact on me and my life and my business. Some of it is tactical, some of it is marketing, strategy, mindset, lifestyle, all the good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to dig in and I'm going to mention some of my favorite lessons that I've learned and implemented over the last year that I hope will inspire you to go back and listen to those podcasts again and find ideas to implement in your own business, because at the end of the day, pursuing freedom is all about the belief that you can have it all. The idea here is that you can have time freedom, but time freedom isn't as enjoyable if you don't have financial freedom, right? You can have all the time in the world and no money to spend, and it's no bueno. So you can also have financial freedom, but at the expense of your time freedom. And that can also be a hard place to be. So personally, I'm always in the pursuit of finding that balance between having the time freedom to enjoy the life that I love, and then having the financial freedom to support that lifestyle and, help me help others do the same. So with no further ado, we are going to dig in today. So pursuing freedom, as I mentioned, is about obviously freedom. And in my opinion, it's about the freedom to choose the way that you want to run your business. One of the things that's interesting about our industry as a whole is that in the beginning, when we get started, a lot of us start out and we're struggling to figure out how to find our way, and we're, looking for business, hungry for business. We're stressed. We're kind of putting in all the hours and throwing all the darts and hoping something sticks, and trying everything. And eventually, hopefully, inevitably, it clicks, and you start to see the business coming in, and you find a different kind of stress or overwhelm, where maybe you're putting in long hours because you have to keep up. And so the people that I found very inspiring are the ones that have figured out how to design their business to match their life goals. And so we're going to start there, and then we're going to dig in a little bit to a couple of folks that have really inspired me to be more disciplined and to kind of keep it simple. And we're going to talk a little bit about some folks that have successfully implemented marketing strategy in our new wave of social media and video and all that good stuff. And yeah, I hope that you leave this podcast as inspired as I feel, having tuned into these episodes again that we're going to talk about. So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about lifestyle design. This is an interesting one because when you're in the early stages of growing your business and you're hungry for business, as we mentioned, you can feel the pressure to always be working and trying to build that business, right? And then once you have business, you're feeling so grateful to be busy that you don't want to compromise that financial influx. And so you won't take the time to go on the vacations that you deserve. You find yourself working 7 days a week, and you find yourself working on your vacations and kind of feeling like a little bit stressed and plugged in at all times. And there's a few folks that we've interviewed on the podcast that have kind of debunked the myth that that's the only way to be successful in this business. So I really want to touch upon these folks and their stories. So one of our first episodes was with a good friend of mine named Jennifer Hughes. And the title of her episode was, "I work as if I'm going to live forever, and I play as if I could die tomorrow." And it is the most viewed podcast episode on YouTube of all of the episodes that we've done. And I think it's because her passion for living life on purpose is so magnetic that we can be inspired to do the same and not allow ourselves to make excuses for why we can't get in our exercise or have that time with our kids or take those vacations. Because at the end of the day, we all became self-employed in search of freedom and flexibility. I don't know anybody that didn't go become self-employed with the idea they were looking for freedom and flexibility. Yet I see countless people achieve success in our business, whether it be on the lending side or the real estate side. And then ultimately, they find themselves making excuses for why they can't live their life now because they're too busy doing work. And that, to me, is a contradiction of the goal that you set out to achieve in the first place, which was to have freedom and flexibility. So what I love about Jen is that she sees this industry as a vehicle to live the life of her dreams, meaning that for her, what she's passionate about is going on a 3-hour mountain bike ride or making sure to be able to ski on a powder day. And she lives in a little ski town where she has access to all this amazing outdoor activity, and she doesn't allow her business to be an excuse for why she's not enjoying it. In fact, she lets the business be the vehicle for her living the life of her dreams. So I highly recommend you tune in to episode number 5 with Jen Hughes if you want to be inspired to stop making excuses and to keep having fun, create your life goals, whatever that looks like, whatever you're passionate about. Make sure that you're putting that into your calendar first. That could be time with your family, it could be exercise, it could be hobbies, whatever that might be. Put that in your calendar first and allow the business to support you in achieving your lifestyle that you really are after. Okay? Another person who amazes me is Maria Vitale, and Maria was episode number 28. Maria started in the business, and her business really took off right after she became a single mom to 2 young boys. So as a single mom, her boys were number one, but she needed to provide. She has been taking her summers off and is a high producing luxury real estate agent with Liv Sotheby's. So there's a lot of times where I talk to agents who are parents, mothers, going into the summer season, and I can hear the anxiety in their voice about the fact that the kids are going to be off school for the summer because it's stressful, because it's like not fun when you're working all the time and it's your busy season and the kids want your attention and they want to have a fun, carefree summer, and you're stressed out because you're super busy with work and you're trying to juggle it all, and it never feels like you can do it all and do it all well. So it's interesting to me that Maria made a commitment, which was her number one commitment, which was her family and her boys. And she just decided that every spring she would take her foot off the gas and business would just inevitably slow down. And then late summer into early fall, she goes back pedal to the metal with prospecting, and she turns on the faucet and she sees the business coming in, and she has her busiest months in the wintertime. So that's a perfect example of someone who defies all laws of real estate, which says that, you know, you can't give up the busy season in the summertime and still be successful, because she's successful, and she's successful being a mom and being present with her kids during the summertime. So I definitely recommend, if that intrigues you, tune in to number 28 with Maria Vitale. Who else? So we also have Marguerite Martin. Oh my gosh, this episode inspired me beyond belief. And I've been talking about it for months now. Marguerite is episode number 39. And her story was actually very similar to mine, in the sense that she got into the business around that 07-08 time, you know, struggled for a couple years to find her voice and build her business. And then eventually she found a strategy to make herself a pillar for attraction marketing, meaning that in her town of Tacoma, she built a website, started a blog, and started a podcast where she would feature other local businesses in order to give value, give back, and promote herself as a resource above and beyond what she gets paid to do. In fact, I think if you go to her website, it talks very little about real estate, and mostly it's all about the community in which she serves. And so what ended up happening was she ended up getting more business than she could handle and started referring out that business. And eventually her business coach said to her, would you rather refer out 100 deals and get a 25% referral fee, or close 25 transactions and get 100% of your commission? So she decided to experiment with taking a sabbatical for a year and worked on generating enough leads to have enough referral business close that she could generate the same income without actually having to work in her real estate business. In fact, she moved to a new city to physically remove herself from the ability to handle clients, because she probably would fall into it like we all do. And I just think that's fascinating. So if that intrigues you, how the heck did she do that, and is taking basically a year off from being in the trenches while still working on her brand and building her online business? Check that out. It's episode number 39. It's totally amazing. I appreciate that story so much. There's another guy that I really enjoyed, which was Michael Beninati, and he was episode number 46. Now, Michael owns a franchise, and he has many of his agents. They decided that because several of their agents were spending a lot of time in Southern California in the winter months, and had gotten licensed there, they decided to open a branch of their company in Southern California. And they have agents that go to, I think, San Diego area in the winter and actually do real estate work on their business there in that market for 6 months, and then come back to Colorado for the summer months, and they run their business in the summer months. Well, obviously, if you're not physically in the location where you're doing business, like if a referral comes in for a Colorado purchase and you're living in San Diego, you would have to refer those deals out. But again, the beauty of being a real estate agent is that you can refer those deals out and make 25% without having to handle the transaction. I think that's pretty amazing. So that is another example of lifestyle design where people want to have that snowbird life and they don't want to wait till they retire to do it. So they found a way to do it inside of the framework of the real estate industry, which is beautiful. Michael also has his own lake house in another state, and he goes and works remote and he sets it all up, and it's totally doable. So if you're an agent who has these dreams of someday doing a month abroad or 6 months abroad or whatever the case might be, and the little guy on your shoulder is saying, no, you can't do that. That's not responsible. You'll ruin your business. Just flick that little guy and go for it, because you can create anything you want. And that's the beauty of this business, is that it is a vehicle to support your lifestyle. It is not meant to be something to rob you of your lifestyle. That would defeat the purpose of why you got into the business to begin with, right? So I'm going to be like a broken record on that, because I find it really interesting to learn these stories of folks that are doing these kinds of things that prove us wrong if we have a story inside our head that says that we can't do that until someday in the future. And, you know, there's a saying about someday is like never, because you never know what someday is. We don't know if we have tomorrow. So if you have an idea, you have a dream, you need to start working on how to make it happen, because it is possible, and you shouldn't think small or postpone your dreams. You just need to figure out how are you going to make it work. Who else? So there's another gal, Susie Best, and she was episode number 18. She actually went out of state. I forget, I think it's Washington. Her business is in Colorado. And while she was on a trip there, she literally fell in love, bought a house on the spot, and now does half her time there in Washington and half her time in Colorado. And she's done a similar thing, except she's built out a team so that she's got team members with boots on the ground in Colorado that could, cover her while she's out of state. And in the meantime, she's living her dream life and, you know, also having a very, very, very successful business. So all of these things are possible. You can have a successful business, and you can travel, and you can spend time with your family, and you can go adventure, and whatever it is you dream of, just do it, and then make the business support that journey instead of the other way around. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is some of the folks that really inspired me from a marketing perspective. So a lot of us are wondering in this day and age, like, I know I need to do video. How do I do video? Should I do video? What am I going to talk about? All that kind of stuff. If you are curious about jumping into video, I would recommend listening to Kyle Whistle's episode, which was number 40. And look him up online too, on YouTube, Instagram. So Kyle has done a phenomenal job of leveraging video to build his business. And he has a huge thriving business, and he has a family, little young family. He gets done with work at 5 o'clock every day. He only works 40 hours. He seems to be doing a million things all at once and somehow doing it smarter, not harder. So instead of adding hours, he's figured out a way to scale his business so that he can be in front of the camera, building his brand, educating people, promoting local businesses, and becoming what did somebody call it? The digital mayor. I love this idea of being a digital mayor. So let's say you're in your particular community. Leslie Heindel has done a great job with this as well. Leslie is episode number 45. And in her episode, we dig into this idea of attraction marketing. So in other words, so we have the old school sales approach, which is that I'm going to make as many sales calls as I can and ask for the deal. And it doesn't count if I don't ask for the referral, and it's all about how I'm going to get more real estate transactions. Well, there's another school of thought, which is this attraction marketing, where you basically become a lighthouse to attract your tribe. And I've mentioned this on a number of podcast episodes, but one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from my business coach over at the Mortgage Marketing Animals, who, by the way, if you're a lender, I highly recommend you look them up because they're amazing. Anyhow, the best piece of advice I have ever heard that just sticks with me to today is the 25% rule. 25% of people are going to love you no matter what. 25% of people are never going to love you no matter what. And then the 50% in between are basically fair weather friends. And in the perfect world, you could build a successful business and a happy life if you are just focusing on your top 25%, those people that will love you no matter what. That is enough, okay? And in some different coaching organizations, they have you sort and qualify your database. So they might have you, figure out who your A people are, your B people, your C people, your D people. It's the same concept. The A's are your 25%. Those are the people that if they want to support you, they love you, they refer you all the time. So attraction marketing is about being who you are, being your authentic self, giving value, and in doing so, you become a lighthouse to be magnetic, to attract your tribe. You want to attract your 25% and not worry about the other 75%. And so ways that I've seen people doing this successfully, like Leslie, for example, she does a blog where she, like Marguerite, interviews local businesses. Actually, I think what she does is she built out a website where she focuses on little neighborhoods in New Orleans, and each of the neighborhoods has their own personality and their own local pub and laundromat and all those things. And she decided to create a centralized location for information about each little niche neighborhood. And that's her website. And it doesn't even really talk about herself as a realtor because people think of her as a resource and a resourceful person who happens to do real estate for a living. And that brings me to something that I often speak about, which is this idea that if you don't know what to talk about when you're calling your clients, or you feel uncomfortable with the sales process, the reason you're feeling uncomfortable is because it feels self-serving. It feels like every activity you're doing is so that you can get a deal. And if you've ever read the amazing book, The Go-Giver, the philosophy should be that if I could focus on giving and figure out who I want to serve and how I'm going to give them value, be a resource to them, I will see transactions come as a byproduct of that. And that's what Pursuing Freedom is all about. That's what the book Pursuing Freedom is about. It's a strategy of, yes, you need to identify your target market. You need to know who you want to serve. And then you need to figure out how to solve their problems and be a resource to them. And let the business, the transactions, the deals, the income come as a byproduct from simply intending to serve and go above and beyond and give value above and beyond what you get paid to do. So folks like Kyle and Leslie, they're doing an amazing job with this, building their brand and being visible and being marketed as a resource and somebody who's going to connect people to what they need essentially, and then seeing their real estate business skyrocket as a result. Another awesome episode is number 17, and that's with David Fowler. And David did something really amazing. He's passionate about live music and he's passionate about serving and giving back. So when he launched his real estate business, he started a little backyard party in his own backyard with 30 to 50 people that he knew. And over time, this backyard party, which he brings in live music, and it's just a big fun party. And it's kind of like his client appreciation event, but it's also, all friends and family welcome, bring your friends. And by the way, if you need someone who does real estate, that's what he gets paid to do, kind of thing. And it's grown over the course of 8 or 9 years to become a 3,500 person event last summer. And it's all built around his passion for music and also his passion for serving. So over the course of the several years, he ended up partnering with a nonprofit organization called Youth on Record, and they help get high school kids who are not showing signs of graduating into learning trades in the music business so that when they graduate high school, if they're not planning to go to college, they are already skilled in something in the music industry, whether that be performing or whether it be soundboard or managing or whatever. So his way of being this lighthouse is all about music and giving back, and he's passionate about it and you can feel it and it's magnetic, and he has a successful real estate business as a byproduct of that. So this brings me to this idea that I love, which is, can you figure out what sets your soul on fire? And we talk about this on Jen Hughes's episode. Can you figure out what you're passionate about? Make that your number one priority. And then can you build a real estate business around that to support you living your passion? Because if you are in alignment with what you love and what you're passionate about, you cannot fail. You simply cannot fail, because you will be attracting like a magnetic force your tribe, and they will want to support you because they will love your energy and they will want to be a part of it and they will want to help you, and that's what you're looking for. So the idea here is that we have to shift our mindset from getting. So when we're struggling and we're hungry and we're scared, you have to somehow shift the conversation that I'm not calling you to get something. I'm not doing this to get something. I'm here to give, give, give. And know that if that is your philosophy and that is your strategy, you simply cannot fail. So another gal that I absolutely loved, who's doing some amazing attraction marketing by giving value, is Amanda Bohorques out of Queens, New York. And she was episode number 35. Amanda and her partner in life and in business are building their brand in such a phenomenal way by simply giving value to their fellow real estate agents, believe it or not. So if you follow her on Instagram, which is her biggest presence, I think, is on Instagram, all day, every day, all she's doing is inspiring you to think beyond what you think you're capable of, to get outside your comfort zone, to leverage social media, to build your brand. And by doing so, guess what? They're attracting real estate agents to their team. And if one of their goals is to grow a brokerage, they're doing an excellent job in doing so with this idea of attraction marketing. They're just simply giving value. They're hosting free seminars in their area to real estate agents, regardless of what company they work for. And there's not a pitch at the end of, oh, by the way, we're looking for you to come join our team. There's no hard sell. And this is it. It's like, whether you're recruiting or whether you're trying to grow your business and grow your volume, when you feel like you have to do the hard sell to get it, that's where most of us freeze up. We struggle with the idea of this self-serving, I need to get more deals, get more money. It's all about me. That's not in alignment with most people, especially the folks that are probably listening to this podcast. If you're like me, you want to be serving first and foremost. And so instead of saying, okay, well, I need to find buyer's agents, or I need to get more clients, shift that if you can shift your mindset to, if I put out enough value, I will ultimately attract success. So after I go through all the folks that really have inspired me and given me some tactical advice over the course of being a guest on the podcast, which far exceeded my expectations about what we were going to be doing here over the course of the last year, I'm going to talk to you about how I have taken that inspiration and implemented it in my own business and what's happened as a result of it. So we'll get to that in the end. Another couple that I want to talk about are in regards to discipline. So I get very inspired by people who follow the philosophy of keep it simple, stupid, okay? Now, not every person in the real estate business was born to be structured and following a certain schedule hour by hour. Let's face it, that's not even realistic for some of us who are very structured and disciplined. But most people that I know in this business who are more sales oriented tend to just be flying by the seat of their pants, like shiny object over here, phone rings, incoming text, and at the end of the day, you're like, I don't even know what the heck happened today. And did I get anything done that was proactive, or did I just react all day long? Because the industry by the industry by default demands us to be reactive, right? It's a time-sensitive business that we're in, so we have to react. But the question is, can you get into the driver's seat? Can you identify the activities that are going to impact the growth of your business and get you off of the hamster wheel and the roller coaster that has you going up and down, one good month, one bad month? Can you figure out what your minimum standard is for winning the day and simply stick to that with no excuses? I know that it sometimes feels hard to do that, but Lindsay Benton, who was episode number 7, is a perfect example of how simple it really can be. So all she did was create a few rules, very simple rules. And because she follows the rules and they're simple and they don't take much time, she has been able to have a consistently growing business year after year while building a brokerage, getting married, having baby, all the things, right? So one of her one of her simple strategies is that she does 5 outbound calls that are prospecting calls, meaning you're not calling someone back, but you're actually calling someone just to check in and say hello. 5 calls, 2 handwritten notes, and no appointments before noon. So that gives her all morning to work on her business, make the calls, do the notes, do the reactive stuff, and then go be in appointments showing houses or getting in front of people one-on-one and all that kind of stuff for the rest of the afternoon. So it's very simple, and because it's simple, it's easy for her to follow. So figure out what your minimum standard is, but keep it simple. I'm not saying that you need to carve out every hour of every day is going to be dedicated to something. It should be quite the opposite, actually. Figure out what your 3 important tasks are every single day, get those done and over with in the morning, and then give yourself 5 hours of white space to be reactive, because we know it's going to have to happen anyway. The other person that really blew me away is Kelly Moy, and she was episode 32. And one of the things that we talked about on her episode is that when I interviewed her, she had already been in the business for 28 years. And I was struck by the fact that when I asked her, so you've been in the business for 28 years, you have a team now, what looks different today from 28 years ago in terms of your business and how you run it? And I think in my mind, when I asked that question, I was wondering, are you still handling buyers? Are you only doing listings? Does your team do everything? All this other stuff. I just was wondering how things have transpired as she's grown over the years to be top realtor in Boulder, Colorado last year in 2018. So Kelly's response was, no, nothing has changed. I do 4 hours of lead gen every single day. So her CRM alerts her to who she needs to be calling in terms of past clients. And obviously with 28 years, she's got a big database. But, it could be a listing presentation, a client consultation, doing past client calls. These are all considered dollar producing activities. So if she's halfway through the day and has only done 2 hours of dollar producing activities because she's been checking email and being on social media and responding to text messages and responding to phone calls, she knows she doesn't leave the office until she's finished 4 hours. And I think that discipline is very admirable and fascinating to me, because I'm not the most structured person, but I'm learning that the more structure I put into my schedule, the more free time I actually have, which is weird, because I used to think that being structured and being disciplined was going to feel like, being shackled. And what I found is that it's actually liberating. It clarifies things for you. If you know that you're going to do 25 calls a week, whether you're going to do all 25 calls every single Tuesday or you're going to do 5 calls a day, if you know what your rules are, it takes the guessing game out of it. If you know your formula for success, and if you've ever tasted success, if you've ever had one good month, you know your formula for success, so you become attached to the outcome, and then that forces you outside your comfort zone to stay disciplined with your minimum standards and your formula for success. So along those lines, I want to touch upon something that I've talked a lot about with my coaching clients, which is this idea that in our industry, I see so many people going up and down, up and down. So when you're low in volume and you're hungry for volume, you're freaking out, you're stressed out. And so you kind of go all out and you do a lot of lead generation activities and you get creative and you get on social media and the whole thing. And then your business spikes. And when you're there, you're so grateful to be busy that you put all your attention on making sure these transactions go well. And you let that be your excuse for falling off of your minimum standards for winning the day and the formula for success. And the other thing that happens is if you reach a point of overwhelm with the amount of volume you might have in 1 month, like let's say you're closing 10 transactions in 1 month, you're feeling overwhelmed and you're thinking to yourself, I could really use some help. But because you just had a month where you only closed 1, then the little guy on your shoulder is telling you that, you can't afford to hire somebody, because what do you do on the months that you only close 1? And the reality is that if you're capable of closing 10 closings in 1 month today and you feel like you need help, you're capable of closing 10 a month with help consistently. In other words, until you get help, you will always go up and down in your volume. You won't be able to find that new threshold that's your minimum standard where you never do less than 4 closings a month or whatever the case might be. Because when you're really, really busy, you're too busy to bother with hiring somebody, and you're too busy to prospect. And the next thing that happens, your pipeline dries up And now because you're not busy, you tell yourself, you feed the fear and you tell yourself, this is why you can't afford to have somebody. But if I were you, if you've tasted success, if you've had that busy month and you've been overwhelmed, what I want you to do is know that now that proves to you that you're capable of that level of success. And then accept the fact that the only way for you to maintain it would be to get help. Because the more volume you do, the more of every single task you do. And the fact of the matter is, none of us are gifted at every task in the sales cycle of a real estate transaction. It's just a fact. We're not all awesome at customer service and being bubbly and selling, and we're not all awesome at crossing T's and dotting I's, and we're not all awesome at follow-up, and we're not all awesome at accounting. We're just not. So when you hit that high level of volume and you feel overwhelmed, the reason you're feeling overwhelmed and exhausted is because you're doing more of the tasks that are not meant to be done by you. Fact of the matter is, there's people out there that would love to do the things that you don't like to do. So if you have that high month followed by a slower month, I would use that slow month to really dig into what activities did I do during that time that I know sucked the life out of me, drained me, and ultimately held me back from continuing my prospecting and lead generation activities. So that's everybody that I really want to touch on today. And I apologize if you're listening and you've been a guest on the show, because every episode has been inspiring, motivating, uplifting, eye-opening, so many good ideas. There's no way I could cover all of them for 49 episodes. But I did want to hone in on these specific episodes and then ways that they inspired me to actually take action. Because at the end of the day, we can all listen to podcasts all day long. We can read books. And if we do that, we might feel inspired. But if we don't back that up with action, we're not going to get different results. So if you feel inspired by this podcast or any book, I challenge you to take one thing and then do something about that. Take action. So one of the things that I'm interested in sharing with you guys today is that at the beginning of the year, we did our one-page business plan. I've been doing a one-page business plan for 5 years now, or like 6 or 7 years now. And every year I lead these business planning workshops, which, by the way, I think I'm going to be offering an online one this fall because it's such a great course that helps people organically arrive at their values and their goals and then simplify it to a simple one-page business plan with your banner goals. So my banner goals were that I wanted to close 15 units in 1 month, give everyone on my team salary increases, and ultimately plan for a family vacation and other fun stuff. But with that goal, I wanted to hit 15 closings in 1 month, and I wanted 5 out of those 15 to be repeat referral. So repeat clients, referral from past client, or sphere. And if you're a real estate agent listening to this podcast, I would recommend that you share this episode with your lender friends, because something really amazing has come out of this process that I did this year. And I really am excited to share it with anybody who would like to see the same results. And as a lender, one of the interesting things about 2018 with the rates going up, if you're a real estate agent listening, you might have noticed that there was a shift in the number of lenders that were suddenly cold calling you, trying to get your purchase business, because they had been doing primarily refis for nearly a decade while rates had been really low. So at the first sign of rates going up and the refi business going away, there was like a desperate energy in the industry of, oh my gosh, I need to find realtors to get me some deals or I'm going to be in trouble. And so there was a lot more cold calling and trying to get realtors to send you business and all this other stuff. And so the combination of that happening in the industry last year, combined with all these interviews that I've had with people that have inspired me on how they've taken the wheel with their business to create the results and the business and the life of their dreams, I decided that I wanted to take the wheel with my lending business. And so part of that motivation of having 33% of our business come from repeat referral from past client and sphere was that I thought to myself, I see all these lenders, I'm coaching lenders, and I see all these lenders that they want to go to their real estate agents and say, how do I get your deals? And then after they close the transaction, they're turning back to their agent and saying, where's my next deal? And so you're kind of letting your business be dependent on the success of everyone around you instead of being able to get in the driver's seat and create it for yourself. So because of people like Kelly Moy and Lindsay Benton who said, this is my minimum standard, I created some minimum standards. Additionally, because at the time, at the beginning of the year, only 22% of our business was repeat referral from past client and Sphere, the rest was real estate referrals, I decided that I needed to put more energy into my own database and operate the same way agents are advised to do, which is to stay in touch with those past clients, give value, and let the referral business and the repeat business come as a byproduct. So in January, we did a report of all of our closed loans for the past 5 years. And in January, we started calling all of our January closings, in February, all the February closings, in March, etc. Okay, so now here we are in June. We have 23 loans in the pipeline, 17 to close in June, 6 to close in July, if that math was right. Everyone's had a pay raise. You know, all of my banner goals are being met at my halfway mark of the year. And I can attribute it all to the inspiration I've gotten from folks on this podcast who have kind of either given me a virtual kick in the butt to get more disciplined, or pushed me out of my comfort zone with building the brand online, or pushed me out of my comfort zone with using video. I allowed these folks that I've mentioned here to inspire me and to motivate me to take action. And the really crazy part is that we started tracking everything. So we tracked all the calls, all the notes, and all of the referrals and where they came from. 3 months into the year, we had started with 22% of our business coming from repeat referral from past client and Sphere. And by 3 months into the year, we were at 50%. So it was amazing to be able to not only shift gears and start tracking the activity, but then to see the numbers and see the results. And if you're someone like me, I was never good at tracking. I never tracked who I called, when I called. I wasn't tracking my leads. It was never really my forte, even though it's the advice I've been getting from coaches for over a decade. If you're someone like me who isn't great at tracking, I would highly recommend that you change that. It becomes kind of fun, and it also is sort of an accountability tool. So I do it really simply. I have a Google document. I open that up and I literally write, okay, this is the month of June. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then I list numbers 1 to 25, and that's who I'm calling. And then over here on the other side, I'm doing 10 notes a week. I've got 1 through 40. Because those blank spaces are kind of like empty check boxes. They taunt me until I fill them. So I'm using the report of the old loans. I'm calling it folks, etc. Now, if you're new to the business and you're listening, you don't have a big database of closed loans or closed transactions, I should say. That's fine, but you have friends and family. And if you're using the excuse that you don't want to be salesy, you're afraid what people will think of you, all the other excuses for why you're not picking up the phone and calling people, you've got to stop right now and start taking action. Calling friends and family isn't about getting a deal. Calling friends and family is about giving value. Figure out a way to be a resource to your people, and they know what you do for a living, and you're top of mind, and you will find that if you just do the activity, you make 5 phone calls, you'll go to the grocery store and bump into somebody who heard you're a realtor and wants to work with you. The business will come as a byproduct if you simply go, give value, and do it with intention, with discipline, and you track it and just watch what happens. Now, a lot of people struggle with, well, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? Well, what I would recommend is, what are you passionate about? What about talking about, for example, we live in a small ski town. I can ask people if they've been getting up skiing this winter. I can ask them what their summer plans are. Are they planning to travel? I can find out if they're doing projects around the house and recommend contractors. I can figure out if they need a referral for an accountant, or they were, injured their shoulder on their bike and they need a good massage therapist. I mean, anything is possible. There's always stuff going on in people's lives. All you need to do is be curious, get into activity, and give value. I know it sounds like cliche, but it's because it works. And it is a cliche because if it works, you're going to repeat it over and over again. So today, what I challenge you to do is, if any of these episodes I mentioned sound like something where you need some inspiration, re-listen to it, listen to it for the first time, get that inspiration, and then make a game plan to take action. wherever you are year to date at the end of June versus where you wanted to be by the end of the year, you can get there still. It's a reset time. It's June. It's time to look back on the year to date and figure out what was working, what were my good months, what were my slow months, what did I do during my slow months that created my busy months, and then where was I overwhelmed during my busy months? What were the activities I was doing that I know were sucking the life out of me and draining me? And do some reflection. Take some time this weekend, carve out an hour early in the morning, and really look back on where are you hitting your goals and where are you falling short? And where do you need to rip the Band-Aid off and just jump in? Whether it be video, calling friends and family, calling past clients, doing online marketing, social media, whatever's holding you back, today is the day to decide that you want different results. And that brings me to my last point here, which is that I've always loved this quote that says, don't worry about how long it's going to take to achieve your goals. The time is going to pass anyway. So I set out in January of 2018 with this goal of hitting 20 loans a month. And all year long, I didn't hit it. So at the end of 2018, going to 2019, I was like, all right, do I really need to hit 20 units? And what's my why there? And I thought about, why do we write these goals? Why do we set goals? Do we set them arbitrarily because we just want to see continual increase? Or is there a real reason behind what it would mean to us to hit that goal? So as I reassessed my goals for 2018, I became clear on the fact that 15 units a month would actually afford me the lifestyle that I wanted and the increases to team member salaries and all the things, right? So I readjusted my goal to that 15. And if any of you have ever taken the Ninja course, which I highly recommend with Larry Kendall, he has a part of his course is that you come up with one goal and you write it as an affirmation. So you're supposed to write it 25 times every day for 30 days. Okay, so in January 1st, I started writing 25 times a day. I love closing 15 a month. And I just, with an exclamation point, I love closing 15 a month. And as I would write that, even though I had never done that before, it was interesting because ideas would come to my head. And so this brings us to the idea of mindset and the importance of our belief system. So a lot of any business book you buy is going to start with a whole chapter on mindset and your belief system. And I think it's one of the most important, well, obviously every author does too. It's like the most important piece of achieving new levels, new heights, and new goals. You first have to decide what you want. You need to know why you want it. And then you need to decide that it is possible. Not only possible, it's inevitable, as long as you back it with the action that you know you need to do to get there. So you don't need to know how you're going to achieve the goal. You just need to know that you've decided you're going to do it, and the path will unfold as long as you decide, commit to it, believe in it, and take action, okay? So every day I'm writing in my journal with my crappy handwriting, I love closing 15 a month. I love closing 15 a month. Well, at the end of January, I hadn't closed 15 a month yet. So I was like, I'm just going to keep writing the same affirmation until I hit it, okay? So it took 5 months to see that 17 in the pipeline for June. And I feel like now I have to reassess my goals and figure out what's my next big goal, because I do believe that as I wrote it over and over and over again, the path started to unfold. It's that whole reticular activating system, basically, that if it's in your mind, then you'll see associations all the time. Like if you just bought a Toyota Camry, all of a sudden you see Toyota Camrys there all the time. So every day that I was writing 15 a month, 15 a month, 15 a month, ideas were coming into my head, people I needed to connect with, a video that I might need to post, or some social media idea, or something in regards to marketing or sales or lead generation that would propel me in the direction of that goal. So I didn't know how to get from 4 units in January to 15 in June. I just knew that if I continually wrote it and wrote it and wrote it, the ideas would come to me. And they did, and they have. And so what I would challenge you to do with mindset is, first and foremost, decide what the heck do you really want. Write it at the top of your journal, WTF. WTF do I really want? Map it all out, even if it seems impossible. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Just know that if you decide, you commit, you believe in it, it will be inevitable. because I am living proof that crazy things are possible that I never would have dreamed possible, nor did I ever know how they were going to come to fruition. But I just took the advice of the books that I read and the podcasts I listened to, and I just decided that, all right, well, if they can do it, so can I. So whatever is on your mind, whatever you're dreaming about, decide today that that's what you're going to make happen. And then figure the path will come and the path will unfold. All the ideas will come into place. So I'm going to leave you with this. It doesn't matter how long it takes to achieve your goals. The time is going to pass anyway. So dream big, design the life of your dreams first, then design your business to support that, and then go get them. Just go get them, Tiger, because I believe in you. I know it's possible. And every time you achieve new heights, you learn what you're capable of, and your confidence builds and your dream becomes bigger. So let your little wins remind you of what you're capable of and continue to push forward to new heights. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in up to this point. I'm so grateful for all the support I've had since starting the podcast, the guests. And with that, please, if you know someone who has a great story and would be a great guest for the podcast, don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact me through our website, which is www.pursuingfreedom.com. Additionally, I've never mentioned this on the podcast, I don't think, but if you're struggling with making your sales calls because you don't know what to say, on my website, you'll see a free 5-step guide to more referrals. So if you're looking to grow your referral business, go ahead to pursuingfreedom.com and download the free 5-step guide to more referrals. It will give you a very brief but step-by-step process. And if you want to dig in further to the strategy, just pick up my book on Amazon, which is Pursuing Freedom. And I hope that it helps you on your journey. I know that all these guests have helped me on mine, and I'm so excited to see what the next 50 episodes bring. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.